welcome back to episode 3 of Dopes and Dragons. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about making drastic mistakes in ruling. So in cases where you decide or you say, yeah, you can go ahead and do X, Y, Z, and afterwards, when there's been a significant kind of outcome to those choices, you then realize a mistake has been made. Do you correct it? Or do you roll with it?
Okay. When I was thinking about this, I thought you were talking about, like, you know, the rule of kill and stuff like that. But
I've heard about that. Yeah, one of the guys only just told me about that not too long ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. But this is interesting. So you're talking about when you fuck up down the road and then it comes back to bite you. That's happened to me a few times.
Countless times. And it also happens on the player's perspective as well, though, where they're like, yeah, I got +2 to the save, +3 to the save, or something like that, you know, which changes whether they save or not. And then a couple of minutes later, like, oh, actually.
Yeah, it's like, well, the bad guy got that save. Why can I not get the save? We literally do the same things. Oh, well, I wanted to keep him alive and not you alive. No, I actually had this. No, I gave one of my characters a course, and I was writing out the course, and I said if he did a certain amount of things, he would get. No, I was supposed to say it was like it wasn't. I gave him raised dead, and he was like level. I think he was like level 5, and I was like, but what I was meant to give him was I think reanimate dead. It was the weaker one. Yeah. So and I was like, and I was like, and I even put in the oak that like he didn't need any spell components, blah blah blah, no cost or anything like that, which even makes raised dead significantly better. But I will say it led to one of the best roleplay moments that if I could find the clip, we'd play it now. But one of the characters was about to die outright, and one of the characters was down on the ground, and he was on he was doing his death saving throws. Okay, and he rolled a natural 20, got up and cast Raise Dead on his friend to bring him back from the dead before he died. Like
that's pretty fucking cool.
It was so, like everyone was dying around, and he literally like the Undertaker. I went Raised Dead, and then they all teleported out because they were all getting surrounded. It was just one of these moments like if this didn't happen at this, if he didn't roll a natural 20, cast that spell, the character was gone forever. And I was like, you know what? I was like, you don't have Raised Dead. I was like, what you talking about? He goes like, they don't have Raised Dead. I goes, there's no way in a million years a bard has Raised Dead at level 5. And I was getting rid of no way you have it, man. And he's like, he's like, no, I definitely do have it. It's here. And I looked the feat I gave him, which was the course at the time, and I was looking at it and I was like, oh, I put Raised Dead. Well, I have to, like, that's like, how can I punish people for my mistakes, you know what I mean? So I think what I did then was trying to find roleplay reasons then to get rid of his course. Or like how can I set up a few traps now for him so I can get rid of this Raised Dead that I made a mistake. And that's what, like, I think that's the best. I don't think just taking something away from a character is the best way. I think if as a DM, it's your responsibility now. It was my responsibility now to get this Raised Dead off him somehow. If it was by killing his character, no, I have to kill him. But like how was that course first got on? Is the course getting worse? And what I did was, because he used Raised Dead, the reason he's cursed by this, he was cursed by Vecna basically, but he didn't know he was cursed by Vecna at the time. So I put him to sleep, and I was like, well, why are you using my magic like that without asking me and all like this? You think you're more powerful than you are and all this stuff. And he was like, what? So I took everything off him. I took his weapons, his money and all this stuff, just so he knew that the spell he cast had like huge consequences. So he use it. Just because you have it doesn't mean, like, I can give a fella a gun doesn't mean you can go out and use it. You know what I mean? It was kind of that situation, like. And I was like, you have to ask now to be kind now to this person who's giving you this power, and that was kind of me be like, maybe then now I can put myself in that situation, and he can't just use it willy-nilly when he wants to use it, like. But yeah, that was one time where I literally went, oh no, I'm at the screwing up.
See, at the same time. Yeah, like even go back to yours though, particularly. At the same time though, you were able to come up with like a creative way to.
Oh yeah, man, you have to
take it away. But like it's like still within the story. It still keeps things flowing in a sense.
I had to take it away, but still give it to him at the same time. I had to make him give it up. I couldn't take it off. And I was like, I need to make him give it up, like, I mean, because like he's been a bit too OP now, like. So.
Yeah. So the one that comes to my mind was when I was first DMing like years ago, and it was literally our first campaign. We were running the Lost Mines. I always mispronounce. Do you know the starter set? I always mispronounce.
Yes, the dragon one there.
Yeah, the Fandeliver or Fandelier or something like that. You know what I mean? And I think we come to the end of it, so I started doing like a homebrew type campaign, and I was slowly kind of drip feeding like a homebrew item to all different classes. You know, something that is fun for them to use and all this. But I kind of made some of them like just way too OP in like certain skills and stuff like that. And it was like hey, the rogue this dagger, and whatever either. I remember like would silence the opponent he's trying to kill or something like that, you know. So Minty didn't really need to like be so stealthy. He could just get the effect on them, and I was like sitting.
I've done a problem here. I've made a grave and perilous mistake.
So those are kind of like the mistakes of giving someone something a little bit too OP. But I think some of the more difficult ones to handle, or issues to handle, is like, let's say you're in a big kind of big boss encounter sort of situation.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think this round thing really like only really affects the combat side of tabletop RPG. Like I can't really think of it, and like, well, maybe in a like a spell or something can affect the roleplay yoke. But I think it's mostly combat. This is like the major thing where like well, you get him a plus to 5. Like he can't be seen last time. Why can I not be seen this time? And all that stuff like that. And like as a DM, it's very hard to like constantly remember what you did last. Like you know what I mean? Maybe like the scenario was different, and maybe I don't know what happened in session 1 when I'm on session 135 or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, how am I supposed to know this? Like this, and you're supposed to, because that's you're held to that title as a DM. But this is I'm always an advocate of letting my players tell me I'm wrong. No, you're being wrong in the situation, and then we talk it out, and then I will always tell them I'll have the last say in it. But I'm completely, I am 100% like, you know what, I'm wrong. You're right in this one. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. Yeah, I didn't mean to. That was wrong for me to do it that way. And I'll say sorry, and then we'll just move on from it. Like, or vice versa. My players are very. I'm very lucky to have the players I have, because they're very. They'll pull themselves up. Which I find in a lot of groups they don't. Like if they're like, oh, I just got one over the DM. Fuck you guys, it's me against you. Do you know what I mean, kind of thing? But where the lads will be like, you know what? They feel like they're cheating somehow, and they're like, you know what? No, I actually rolled a 13. I added my wrong modifier, and I'd be like, grand. Sometimes I actually. When it's in a really tight scenario, and I know how easy it is to just say, you know what, that 14 was actually a 15, but you know what I mean, it was like kind of like, I know how easy it is to just say it, like, and in them tight, so I kind of reward my like players when they do something, like when they call themselves out. They were like, oh man, no, I actually didn't roll that at all, sorry about that. And I'm like, you know what, there's the inspiration, you know, I enjoy out an inspiration, I always do.
I think you have to have like a kind of, what's the word, code of honor in a sense, when it comes to if you've made a mistake, because it's very easy to, especially if the DM makes a mistake that benefits the players, it's very easy to stay quiet and like, like he forgot about XYZ or something like that, you know.
When I'm a player, I'm always the little shy guy.
Yeah, same.
He's actually in difficult terrain. He can't move that far, and like you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't be doing. I'm like, well, man, you can't do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to. And then like, and I was always grateful for Daryl, because Daryl would be like, no, fair play. Fair play would always be like straight down. Like, he wouldn't be like, no one likes to telltale or anything like that. You know? Like, I know it's kind of like, it's not it is borderline rule line. I'm not gonna cover it. It's like rule lawyering to bits, but it's not like. I am a bit of a rule lawyer, but I'm like super rule kill as well. Like I like the rules are there for a reason. We're not all just like sitting around a fucking table, just like no books, no dice, no nothing. Do you know what I mean? And I think the combat aspect, if you don't go by the rules of the combat, well then you're gonna be failing on consistency of like there's always gonna be so much fuck ups then, do you know what I mean? Because you didn't do it last time, At least you have a baseline of what can be done, like,
that's it. See, that's the thing I was gonna mention actually earlier is, as a DM, it can be very hard to, let's say a character has a very specific feat for, I don't know, maybe climbing or something like that, and maybe it's a little bit iffy on the way it's actually the text actually reads about this feat. And you make a ruling on it, a very like second session of the campaign or something like that. Like 20 sessions later, you might not remember how you dealt with it that first time, but the player will be like, no, we did it like this last time. So then you start to question yourself as well. And stuff. So,
and then you're like, and then there's a couple of scenario then where you made it like a house rule on something, completely forget about it, and then it leads to like, well, one thing is worse when you fuck up a rule and it causes someone to die, and you're like.
Yeah, well, see, that's like the drastic scenario. So that was the next one I was going to go on to. What do you do if a mistake in ruling, whether it be on characters or DM, results in a player death? What would you do in this scenario? Because that's it
has to be context. Like I would have to know. Like I'd have to know. Like if it was like in the scenario, the story I said where he was raised to dead, like that was my fault. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't like go, oh no, you can't do that. No, right? You don't have raised dead. You actually have the other smaller version of it. I just, you know what? My fault, my bad. There were like sometimes where DMs were like, I know we all have this like, oh, we're gods, we can do what the fuck we want, but we also have this. We have to hold ourselves accountable. Like, you know what I mean? We make mistakes, and I think the more mistakes that are in your game, the more realistic it feels. Because day to day we make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, like we might be playing a fantasy story, but like we make mistakes, and we're only human at the end of the day. Like, you know what I mean?
It's part of being human.
If I made a rule up, and then if a character thought a rule was a different rule, and I said no, it's not, it's the other way, and his character's dead because of it, I would stick with it.
Yeah.
So if he thought it was, oh no man, I thought, yeah, you can't, like I thought difficult terrain doesn't work on my character because he's a ranger or something like that. I'd be like, no, you didn't know what feats that other ranger had, and you're just like, that's your fault, man. That's not my fault. I'm sorry, your character's dead because you ran into lava or something. Do you know what I mean? Just because you saw someone else doing it and you thought you could do it, you didn't know what you had. You know what I mean? I've done it before. I like the rule kill where you can. All right, you can do that's kill. Just roll me a little acrobatic check so you can do a little dive or something. I like it to a point of realism. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I could see that in the film. I could see that in like I'd be like, all right, I could see that. I remember having a player who was on. He was on like a. He was on a 60-foot wall. Like, you know, wall towering over into the castle. They were like infiltrating this castle. They had to get this item, and he goes, "I jump off." And I goes, "What?" I jump off, and I want to do a backflip as I jump off. I goes, "Man, you're 60 feet in the air." So?
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, and I literally had to look at him like this. You're a human, and you are jumping 60 feet to the ground, solid ground, and you want to try to do a backflip. Yeah, I'm a rogue.
What does that have to do with fucking anything?
What's that got to do with anything? What's that got to do with... Okay, you can sneak, but you're not sneaking if you're doing a backflip. So I go some... roll me an acrobatics check. I want to see how good this backflip is. Because you're going to die. You're only you're level 4. Let's see how you go out.
It's like a scene from Futurama, like Bender shout, do a flip.
So he rolls, and he rolls a natural 20.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So I'm still smiling because...
Yeah, you're still going to kill him, aren't you?
It's just like... I goes, you see yourself, you run, you kind of do like this Pocahontas, flip out like this. You think you're Ezio himself as you dive down, but as you dive, you do a perfect flip. I described this flip amazingly, and then he smashes his face off the ground. I rolled 360. It's 6. It's every 10 feet. It's 6. So it's like what 10d6.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, 6, and I did that, and he was dead. He literally just... So, what was the funniest thing is the party are just looking at the rogue do this majestic flip, and he is flipping, and then he literally head forward smashes, and like, he just is dead.
God,
so now it's a race. It's a race that not also infiltrate the castle, but to save their friend who's rolling dead saving throws because he's like on the ground, like and he's like, I thought I could make it. And again, it gets really tick with me when I'm like, when a DM will go to you, explains to you facts of what you are, what your abilities are doing, how high you're going. You kind of have to think to yourself, going, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe
there's only so many like subliminal messages you can send a player of like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to do that?
No, that's another thing that I think we should talk about one time is like how much the DM should help a player. So that was us, Dopes and Dragons. Next episode we're going to be talking about, should you bring your significant other half to the table?
Oh.
I don't know. Anyway, like, subscribe, and share to all your D&D friends. Bye-bye!
Bye.
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 All right, let me just stop that.
All right.